Welcome to Church Perspective. I'm your host, James Church, and we'd like to welcome you to our show today. One of the things that we're going to be dealing with today is many questions. And I hope that during this episode, during this broadcast, that you'll get all the answers to your question. If not, feel free to give me some text messages, some phone calls, and to let me know the answers that you need. We're going to seek them out, and hopefully we can find them together. But today, we're going to be dealing with one thing, and that is, why is black pain celebrated, but not black power? Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. When you hear the word black, what images flash in your mind? Is it pain, protest, struggle? Why is this question so important? What is the reality of this question? Well, the reality of this question is that we can find the answer when we turn on the television or when we scroll our phone. And then we ask ourselves another question that many times we dread when we do turn on the television or scroll our phone. And that question is, what do we see? Do we see a black man gunned down, a black woman in tears, another young man being punched in the face by the police? What do we see? Do we see another form of harassment? Another hashtag on social media? Why are these things so important? I've got some answers. But first, let me ask you something. What are the stories, and where are the stories of our power? Where are the stories of our joy? Where are the stories of our brilliance? Why is our trauma always front and center, but our triumph continuously gets pushed to the back burner? Well, today we're going to talk about it, not talking about it to relive the pain, but to challenge the system that profits off of that same pain. You see, pain is the number one narrative. It's a narrative by default, one which we have been presented, one which we have found ourselves participants, and one that we have found ourselves in a place of resolve. Pain is a default narrative when we're talking about celebrating black pain and not black power. You see, this type of pain that I'm talking about, it starts early. It's taught in our schools, and it's centered around slavery and civil rights and injustice. And of course, these things are very important. Yes, they are. We must honor those fallen heroes and fallen soldiers that have paid the price so that you and I can be in a place that if they had not paid the price, we would not be able to achieve. So we honor them, but in honoring them, we must come to a place of realization and know that we are still limited. You see, many times in that limitation, we've actually already introduced ourselves to our own suffering. Why is this important? Because by the time we're adults, we've internalized a truth that was never ours. And that pain defines us. Our legacy begins and ends with struggle. Why? Because of that same celebrated black pain and not black power. But you see, I want to tell you today that our story is so much bigger. We are not just descendants of the enslaved. We are also descendants of kings and queens and architects and philosophers and builders. Those are the descendants that represent black power. And I want to share with you today that those are the stories that we want to attribute our lives to. Not the stories that we continuously see each and every day that is celebrated in black pain. You see, one of the things that I've noticed over time is that the pain that is celebrated in the media, it has a tendency to go viral when it's dealing with particular groups. And what's so important and so tragic all at the same time, and that even though there is notification brought to the pain, which is truly a celebration to the media, that same power gets muted. I'm talking about none other than Black power. Have you noticed how quickly videos of police brutality get shared? How fast our tears spread, our protests circulate, our pain multiplies across timelines? Why is this? Why is this continuously happening, day in and day out? But here's the contrast of Black power to the celebration of Black pain. When the media, not all media, but much of media, begins to celebrate Black pain, we have to take the narrative and begin to celebrate Black power. And how do we do that? We have to turn off the focus of the media. What am I saying? The media shows us Black pain. We must start showing them Black power. And we do that by building schools from scratch, building banks and building real estate agencies, building schools and colleges, and building up our communities in such a way that our Black power and our Black excellence will have a tendency to overtake the Black pain, which is many times shown in the media. Why? Because pain, at such a degree, it maintains the narrative of oppression. You see, power threatens the system that pain is built on. Media outlets aren't just telling stories, they're reshaping a negative perception. And perception, as we know it, influences policy, opportunity, and identity. What about changing that perception so that the power that we possess and the excellence that we possess is no longer silenced? We must overcome a secondary thing of pain. And that pain is the currency of suffering. You see, there's a reason entire industries profit off of our pain. There's many films that are made about trauma that win awards. Nonprofit organizations raise millions and billions of dollars. Social media algorithms, they prioritize tragedy. You see, Black suffering has become marketable, a product wrapped in nothing but hashtag and headlines. It has become normalized, and we must denormalize it. But what happens when we only show one side, or one side of the story has been shown? What happens to those that the story is about? The ones that live the experience and live the story. Well, what happens is they begin to believe that that's all there is. And so we must challenge that system, because it's not just about visibility, it's also about balance. Because if all we ever see is pain, we forget how to see power. And this is why it's so important that the weight we carry, even the weight that we carry among ourselves, and I'm not talking about a physical weight. I'm talking about an emotional weight. I'm talking about a mental weight. Even within our own communities, we've inherited the glorification of the everyday grind. Many a times you find people who are honest in their speech, and they say things like, I've started from the bottom, or I came from nothing. And not yet in the moment of their perception, because of all the perception that has been burdened upon them, do they realize that there's another way out. What if we didn't have to start from the bottom? Or what if we didn't have to come from nothing? But we would always be in a position to be that which we've been called to be. You see, what we have normalized is thriving instead of surviving. What if we told our kids, our children of today, that building wealth, peace, and legacy is as worthy of respect as enduring struggle? You see, we need to stop measuring our blackness by the pain we've endured, that pain that has been placed upon us, a burden upon us, and we have shouldered over decades of time. And now we must start honoring the power that we embody, the power that we truly possess. I'm not talking about a power that is indifferent, or it's volatile, it's vile, or it has a new meaning of doing something to be indifferent, or behavior that usurps authority in such a way that it causes rifts and divisions among people. But I'm talking about a power that we embody. What is that power that I'm talking about? I'm talking about a power that gives us the ability to reclaim joy and innovation and future. You see, joy is revolutionary. Black joy is pure resistance. Black invention is pure disruption. Black unity is purely unstoppable. We don't just need to tell different stories. We need to be that story. From tech houses and schools of education to galleries that present art and medical schools that talk about wellness, we have to determine and be empowered in our own mind that our brilliance is limitless. We have to get to a place where we start building platforms that celebrate Black power each and every day. We have to get to a place that we start supporting educators and mentors and creators and visionaries who push us forward. Let's stop waiting for permission to be powerful, because we already are powerful. You see, many of us have been burdened with things that we did not have or never even asked for. But nevertheless, we have to get over the currency of suffering. And that currency can be traded in. It can be traded in. And that currency that I'm talking about is pain. We can trade that currency in for power. You see, we are not just a people of pain. We are a people of power. We've been inventors and leaders and builders and visionaries. But too often, those stories are left untold. And we are left out of those stories to be told. So the next time someone wants to talk to you about Black trauma, ask them if they can name a Black inventor. Because I can. And you should be able to do the very same thing. For example, did you know that the home security system involved Marie Van Brittan Brown? Did you know that Frederick McKinley Jones was involved in the process of the refrigerated trucks? Did you know that Alice H. Parker was involved in the process of gas heating furnaces? What about Alexander Miles with the automatic elevator doors? And Lewis Latimer with the carbon filament for light bulbs? And nevertheless, we have Sarah Boone, who improved the ironing board, and George T. Sampson, who improved the process of the very dryer that you dry your clothes in today. And then there is Lloyd Ray, brilliantly created a dustpan with a long handle. John Lee Love, a pencil sharpener. Alfred Kroll, an ice cream scoop. And when we get into the medical, we find that there's Dr. Charles Drew, who's responsible for blood bank and blood storage systems. When we talk about audio, we talk about James E. West, who was involved in the process of the modern microphone technology that we have today. And then there was Robert Fleming Jr., who understood the process of plucking on a guitar. And there's Joseph H. Smith, who is involved in the process of watering our lawn today because of the improved water sprinkler system. David Crossway Jr., the thermostat, controls any HVAC systems. Thomas Jennings, dry cleaning process. Elijah McCoy, automatic lubricant for trains and machines. And there are so many more. And I say that to say this. Don't let the story end that you have not written for yourself. There's going to be many people who attempt to rewrite your story. I want to tell you today that that story that's to be rewritten, you need to understand what the dialogue is going to be. And you need to understand the full script. This is not the acting process. We're in a time in this country while many things have gone south. But for you out there that are listening to this broadcast today, you can achieve. You can achieve because you're empowered to do so. I share this with you today because we must move away from the celebration of pain and start celebrating power. That's all I have for you today. I'm your host, James Church. And until next time, this is the church perspective, a true perspective. And if you would be so kind to subscribe, like, and ring that bell, that would be one of the best perspectives of all time. Until next time, let's continue to talk about it. This is the church perspective.